Yo, 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 it's Gradius, Senor Gradius, coming at you live here from DePaul Middle School. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day you're watching this. Hope you're having a good day so far. So, here's what we got. We've got a video, there we go, on solving equations review. So, we are solving one-step and two-step equations. This is all the basics of equations, and then we'll go deeper into it later on. Okay, so this is review from 7th grade, 6th grade, but just in case we forgot, here we go. So when we're solving equations, the ultimate goal is we must isolate the variable. Okay, so this word isolate right here, what it means is isolate means to get the variable by itself. Okay, so we want to get this variable by itself. And when I say by itself, I mean by itself on that side of the equal sign. So because I have an equal sign here, and I have this x plus 5, that means I want to get rid of this plus 5 right here. Okay, I'm trying to get the variable by itself because I want nothing else on the left side of the equal sign. So the way we get rid of anything when solving equations is we get rid of anything by doing the opposite operation, or also known as the inverse operation. So if I look at, I want to get rid of a positive 5 here. And so the way we get rid of plus 5 or positive 5 is by minus 5 or negative 5, same thing. Because I'm trying to get 0. So to get rid of plus 5, right underneath it, I'm going to write negative 5 or minus 5. Because 5 minus 5 is 0. So because it's 0, it goes away. I bring down my variable, but whatever we do on one side of the equal sign, we have to do on the other side of the equal sign. So I'm subtracting 5 from the right side, and I get 4. So x, whoops, that was weird, x equals 4. And that makes sense because 4 plus 5 equals 9. Now, over here, we have negative 4 times x equals 32. So again, this one, negative 4 times x, when we have a number attached to a variable like this with nothing in between, this means multiplication. Okay, so if we need to write an arrow to that because we always forget, this means multiplication. And with multiplication, what we call the number that's attached to the variable, this is called the coefficient. Okay, so this is called our coefficient. Now, to get our variable by itself right here, what I want to do is I got to figure out what is the opposite of multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So if I want to get the variable by itself, I need to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So in order to get rid of times negative 4, I'm going to use the exact same number, but I'm just going to do the opposite operation. So because this is negative 4 being multiplied by x, I want to divide by negative 4 because that's the number I'm trying to get rid of. So because this was times negative 4, I'm dividing by negative 4 because that's the opposite. That makes that go away, but whatever I do on one side of the equal sign, and sometimes we like to draw this line through the equal sign so we can see that we're doing the same thing on both sides. I have to do on the other side of the equal sign. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1, which is why it cancels out. The reason why it cancels out, there's no reason to write 1 times x because that's just going to be equal to x. 1 times anything is equal to whatever that anything number is. So I bring down my variable. I bring down my equal sign. 32 divided by negative 4. Positive divided by negative is negative. 32 divided by 4 is 8. So I get x equals negative. Okay, so now let's look at a couple different types of problems. If you want to just try them on your own, please do. You can pause it, try them, make sure you know what you're doing, and then resume to see the solution. So again, trying to get x by itself over here. So what I want to do, because this is minus 10, I want to do the opposite, which is plus 10. So I'll add 10 to both sides, add 10 to both sides. Now, yes, you still need to know your rules for adding and subtracting positive and negative numbers. So because of that, negative 5 plus 10 is positive 5. Okay, and these do cancel. Negative 10 plus 10 is 0. There's no reason to write x plus 0 because it's just going to be x. So I get x equals 5. Now over here, I have n over 4 equals 12. We have to remember that whenever we have this division symbol right here, this fraction, that means division. So this is n divided by 4. The opposite of division is multiplication. And so I want to multiply both sides by 4. Multiplying, the reason why is if I extend this fraction, it looks like I have 4 over 4, which is exactly what I had over here when I had that fraction bar, right? I had negative 4 over negative 4. Same idea. So So this is 4 over 4, which cancels. They simplify. So I'm left with just my n equals 12 times 4 is 48. And that makes sense because 48 divided by 4 is 12. Guys, writing out these steps is super important because when we get to more complicated equations later this week or next week, you need to know how to show these steps because you'll get too confused because there'll be too many steps to do. Okay. Now, we're also going to move on to two-step equations right now. So when we're moving on to two-step equations, if we look at the bottom here, it says get rid of the addition or subtraction before multiplication or division. So we always want to try to get rid of the addition and subtraction first, and then we worry about the multiplication and division afterwards. Okay? So what we're going to do is, this is going to take two things, because now there's two numbers. I have to get rid of this 4 and get rid of this negative 6 in order to get the x by itself. So two values that I have to get rid of in order to get my variable by itself. So I look at what's going on here. This is 4 times x, and this is just a minus 6. This minus 6 is not being multiplied by anything. It's not being divided by anything. This is just called a constant because it's just kind of floating out here away from the variable. So what I want to do is I want to get rid of my constant first. So I need to get rid of the minus 6. So the way, because that's what we want to get rid of our addition and subtraction first. Then we worry about the multiplication. So always look to see, okay, what do I have here? What's going on? What can I get rid of? So to get rid of minus 6, we're going to do the exact same thing we did before. We're going to add 6 to both sides. Notice how I'm staying super organized. I'm bringing down my 4x. I'm bringing down that equal sign. 42 plus 6 is 48. So now if you look here, I have the same thing that I had before. The whole point is now I have a one-step equation. I have exactly what our first example was over here. Okay, I just have something, whoops, went ahead. I just have something times a variable, so 4 times a variable. I have my coefficient of x equals 48. So in order to get rid of multiplication, we do the opposite, which is division. And because I'm trying to get rid of a times 4, I need to divide by 4. And whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other side. Those cancel. I'm left with x equals 12. If I wanted to check my answer, I could plug it back in. I could plug in x equals 12. Whoops, 4x right here. So that's 4 times 12 minus 6. And I should get an answer of 42. So I got 48 minus 6. I got 42. And look, it was supposed to equal 42. So I did it right. Okay. Quick joke time. So here we go. How are mathematicians like the Air Force? So how are mathematicians like the Air Force? They both use pilots. Get it? Pilots. Pilots. All right, anyways, moving on. That's a good one, by the way. Okay. So I have another two-step equation. Try this one on your own if you can. So we have m divided by negative 3 minus 2 equals 5. So again, we have a fraction. Fractions are just a fancy way of writing division. M divided by negative 3 minus 2 equals 5. So I always want to get rid of the addition subtraction first because this is division, this is subtraction. Let's get rid of the subtraction by adding 2 to both sides. Negative 2 plus 2 is 0. It cancels out. That's why we always do the opposite because it makes it go away. So I have m divided by negative 3. I'm bringing down my equal sign. Again, we can draw that line if that helps. 5 plus 2 is 7. So now I want to multiply both sides by negative 3. And the reason why I chose to multiply, this is m divided by negative 3. So the way to cancel divide by negative 3 is we multiply by negative 3 to make those go away. And I get m equals negative 21. Now the last type of problem that you're going to see is you'll have a two-step equation. But now if we look, my coefficient is a fraction. And some people say, oh no, like what do we do? But it's really simple. So the first thing we still do, this doesn't change anything, is I have a value being multiplied by y, and I'm adding 2, and it should equal 6. So what I want to do is I still want to get rid of my addition and my subtraction first. So because I want to get rid of my addition and my subtraction first, I need to get rid of this plus 2 right here. So to get rid of plus 2, I still subtract 2 from both sides. That part stays the same. I still bring down my 2/3 y, still bring down that equal sign. We can just bring it here all the way down. And then I get 6 minus 2 is 4. Now, from here, because I have 2/3 y equals 4, the way we get rid of a fraction if it's being multiplied like this is we just multiply by the reciprocal because that will cancel everything out. So when I say multiply by the reciprocal, what we're going to do is we're going to flip our fraction around and we're going to multiply it. So if I flip my fraction 2/3, I'm going to make it 3/2. And the reason why we do is if I look at this, 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 3 is 6. 6/6 is equal to 1. So this makes 1y, which again, as we saw earlier, 1 times y or 1 times anything is just equal to that anything. So our goal in multiplication and division is to make 1. By flipping the fraction and multiplying, these all cancel each other out. And whatever I do on one side of my equation, I have to do on the other side to maintain that balance. So I get y equals, let's see, we can just multiply straight across if we wanted to. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 2 is 2. 12/2 is 6. Or I could have also cross-simplified 2 and 4. Let's see, I can divide both of these by 2. So that makes 1 divided by 2. That makes 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. So y is equal to 6. So last one, go ahead and try this one just on your own, and then check to see if you do it right afterwards, okay? All right, so get rid of the addition and subtraction first. Add 3 to both sides. Boom, goes away. I've got 2/5 times x equals 12. I have a fraction here, so I want to multiply by the reciprocal. So I need to multiply, flip it, and multiply. So that's multiplying it by 5/2. Those all go away. That's why we did it. But whatever I do on one side, I have to do on the other. So I'm multiplying by 5/2. I'm going to cross simplify because that makes my life a lot easier. Because I look at this 2 and this 12 here, and these can definitely simplify. I take 2 and 12, I can divide these both by 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 times 5 is 30. All done. Hope this helped. Do your best. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks for watching.